Hey there! We're continuing our series called TripAdvisors and Deadly Detours. Interesting. So if you think about deadly detours and TripAdvisors, looking at Peter and Judas as our TripAdvisors, and they're telling us when we walk with Jesus, avoid these deadly detours. Last week we looked at deception as a deadly detour. This week we're looking at religion. Religion is a deadly detour when we choose to walk with Jesus. I want you to think about Peter as well as Judas, because they both had their own interactions, engagement with religion, and it became a deadly detour for each of them. So when we look at Peter in Matthew 26, verse 69, it says, "Now Peter was sitting outside of the courtyard, and a servant girl came to him and said, 'You too were with Jesus the Galilean.'" Now, you're like, what do you mean? How does that relate to religion? Well, in this verse that we just read, we understand that Peter was trailing Jesus. Judas had betrayed him, and the religious leaders, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the high priest, had arrested Jesus and brought him to the courtyard of the high priest. In that courtyard, they were accusing him, they were condemning him, they were judging him, they were harassing him, they were interrogating Jesus. And Peter was trailing along, and he came to the courtyard of the high priest to see what would happen to Jesus. None of the other disciples followed Jesus into that courtyard of the high priest. But Peter dabbled with religion, coming into that courtyard to watch Jesus from a distance, but not be associated with Jesus. And that's what I think religion does. Religion gets you kind of around, kind of on the outskirts, the observer, kind of in the cheap seats, if you will, of seeing Jesus, but it doesn't facilitate a deep personal connection, relationship with Jesus. You're a spectator rather than a fellow traveler. So Peter would say to us as a TripAdvisor, hey, don't let religion be a deadly detour. It is absolutely a distraction, and it's an illusion. It doesn't really hold the substance and the very core essence of Jesus. Stick with Jesus and skip the religion. Well, when we think about Peter, we also need to look at Judas. Judas also is a TripAdvisor in terms of walking with Jesus. And Judas had his own brush with religion. This is our deadly detour for this episode. And Judas, we read about him in Matthew 26, verses 14 to 15. And it says, "One of the 12, named Judas Iscariot, went to the chief priests and said, 'What are you willing to give me to betray Jesus to you?' And they weighed out 30 pieces of silver to Judas." Judas, as our TripAdvisor, made a deal with religion to betray Jesus, to hand Jesus over to religion so that religion could kill him, could persecute him, could hang him on a cross, could brutally beat him, could scourge him. This is what religion does. Religion is a poor substitute for an authentic relationship with Jesus. And as TripAdvisors, both Peter and Judas would advise us, don't get sabotaged or sidetracked or deluded by religion. It can look nice, it can look formal, and it can look very, pure and holy and all those things. And it can be a distraction or a detour, a deception for the authentic Jesus. So don't stand in a courtyard and watch Jesus from a distance, and certainly don't make a deal with religion to betray Jesus. Let's keep walking with Jesus. Let's stay in authentic relationship and connection with Jesus, because ultimately He is our final destination. He is our fellow traveling mate. He is the one who can lead us and direct us and guide us and give us life more abundantly. So let's keep walking with Jesus and skip the religion. And like we talked about last week, say no to the deception. Because walking with Jesus is the best and most fulfilling thing we can do every single day for all of our lives. So as we finish up, think about this joke here. This is really, really good. What happens when you wear a watch on a plane? Time flies. All right, next week, I'm serious, we're going to have another amazing episode on TripAdvisors.